thought I was going to have a reason for that, but no. Okay. I'm just going live on YouTube. Now I'm live on YouTube and I'm live on Facebook. So I'm just going to wait for people to turn up. I might have to close those blinds I can see on YouTube. Excuse my butt here. Sorry about that. Okay. Hello. So I was just closing the blinds because the sun's coming in. Anyway, welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I have not showered since the gym. This is what I look like at the gym. And so I've just been on the go all day. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit stale at this point. So anyway, sorry about that. I just haven't had time all day to shower. So anyway, you can start now. Okay, they're spreading rumors on spreading my daughter. Okay. This is from Marifer Medina. They're spreading rumors or spreading lies towards my daughter. Should I need an advocate for this? And what's in an advocate? Okay, how old? Where? Who? Is it online? Is it at school? How old is she? You know, I don't know. And I don't know, but what you mean by an advocate. Is this a legal issue? Nobody is going to... oh. Yeah. She said nobody's going to smell you because I said I haven't showered since the gym. It's more about my appearance. I know you can't smell. Okay, she's 11 and it's at school. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. I can't even give you a guess at what you should do. You know what I always say, though, is if you're not sure what's going on, I would go into school, talk to her teacher first, and then it's usually the vice principal who handles student stuff. So, and just say, you know, can I just find out what's going on? Do not accuse anyone. Go in there with an open mind. No, go in there pretending to have an open mind and say, yeah, I just want to know what's going on. My daughter's upset because she hears rumors about herself. You know, ask around. So ask around, get some information. If you want my help with that, I would say that would probably be more likely coaching, because I'd need to assess the whole situation. And then it's that stuff between schools and other parents and you. It's complicated. Okay. But it might not be what she thinks it is. So assess the situation first. Yeah, it's tricky. Says she might take legal action. Nothing. Yeah, it's tricky. You'd have to hire me for that. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't help you with that. But I could certainly help you navigate through that. It's the principal. Yeah. Depends on the size of the school. By high school, it's usually the vice principal. And in a big high school, it's usually the vice principal that takes care of this stuff. Unless it's legal, then that would be the principal. Principal deals with the money. The vice principal deals with the kids. That's usually how it works. Anyway. Okay, yeah, it's tricky. It's very tricky. You be very careful. I don't know why I'm pointing like this. You be very careful to not accuse any kid of anything. I cannot stress that enough. Just go in and say, my daughter's upset, and don't name names. And say, you see where I'm going with this? Be very careful. Okay, so I've got a question here on YouTube. Hi, Lisa. What age should our children start putting their clothes on by themselves? It depends on the age and what kind of clothes we're talking about. If it's a jumpsuit that's buttoned from the crotch up to the neck, probably 16 years old. I still can't do that. So yeah, it depends on what it is. But yeah, I'd say by about the age of 3. Some kids are 2 and they're dressing themselves. Other kids are 5 and they want help getting dressed. It depends on the independence of the child. Sometimes they like to be assisted. Both my kids were not super independent, but they certainly were kind of anxious. They were proud of themselves when they dressed themselves. So, but some of them want to be dressed, you know. You do it. I can't lift my arm, all that kind of stuff. So I'd say by about 3. Okay. What was I thinking? Sorry, I just got dogs in the hallway. Whenever they start barking, whenever they hear a dog, or whenever they smell a dog they don't like that's been in the hallway, they think they own the hallway. It's my two dogs next door. They're so cute. Yeah, I can't get into that on here, Marifer. Is that right, Marifer? Yeah, I can't get into that on here. You'd have to hire me, but assess the situation. You can hire me right now, and I could help you, guide you through it. But it is tricky. Anytime you have to go into school, and you got other parents and other kids, and one saying one thing, another saying another thing, and yeah, it is difficult. You know, what's funny is I used to do a lot of different things in my business. I've been doing this for 17 years. I used to do, because I used to do a lot of local, like the breakfast TV, the those kind of shows. So as the parenting expert, the news and that. So I had a lot of local people. So sometimes I would do one-on-one, usually on Skype, but sometimes I would do in-person stuff. So one of the things that I used to do is I used to go into school and I'd be the mediator between the school and the parents of the child who was being bullied. Okay. So I would say to the parents, I would say, do not say anything like bully, bullying, bully, bullies, nothing with the word bully in it. Sure enough, as soon as we arrived, oh, your kid's bullying our kid. Oh, geez. They just couldn't help themselves. Anyway, I didn't do that for very long. Yeah, they just couldn't help themselves. You got to be really careful with stuff like that. I didn't see that coming the first time. The second and third time, I think I only did it 3 times. And I warned the parents, do not say anything to do with bullying. Sure enough, they all did. It was hilarious. And then as soon as they said it, they looked over at me like this. And I was just like, oh, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you? It was funny. So yeah, what it does is it's a very accusatory thing to say, and it's kind of a bad name calling thing to do. And you don't want to get the other kid or the other parent's backs up. You want to keep an open mind and say it like, I just don't think our kids are getting along. That's the way you deal with it. Anyway, it's a whole process. 5-year-old girl, people pleaser, would appreciate your input. Yeah, people pleasers are someone who will do anything to be liked. It usually comes from having low self-esteem. Children who have leaders tend to have very high self-esteem. They are never people pleasers. A child who has a leader at home is very empowered, has a lot of confidence, they like themselves, they have high self-esteem, and they are not people pleasers. In other words, work on yourself and your leadership skills, and that wouldn't happen. It empowers your children. It gives them a voice, because a leader gives respect to get it. You're a really good listener, and you empower them how to problem solve. So yeah, people pleasers, they can get in all sorts of trouble, especially in the teen years. So yeah, she's tiny right now. I asked my 15-year-old son to dry off his toothbrush after use. He refuses. Is there something I can do about it? It's many things like this over there. I'm going to read, any of my regulars are probably laughing right now. I'm going to read my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. The last one's for you. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Okay, they're going to shut you out. They're not going to talk to you. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. So just listen to understand and show empathy. It's a lot of this. Oh, yeah, that would be frustrating. Oh, yeah, I get that. Okay. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Say, look, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? The last one's for you. Don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If you try and micromanage a teenager, good luck with that. They're going to build up a wall. They're going to resent you. It's just going to be, well, where you're at right now. The only way around that is number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. You could say something like this. If you dry your toothbrush, what do you want from me? We can trade off, negotiate it. But yeah, don't sweat the small stuff. I'm a regular. I ask him what he wants from me. He never has any ideas. What are some suggestions? You can say something like this. Do you want me to get off your back when you're playing games? It's usually get off your back about something. Do you want me to, you know what I mean? It's usually something like that. Get creative. I got too many ideas. Every time I get too many ideas, I can't talk. What do you want from me? Do you want me to not be able to talk for the rest of the night? Because usually it's the nagging. Get off my back. Leave me alone. Do you want me to put painter's tape across my mouth for the whole night where I can't talk? Use humor. Just use humor. So I can't nag you or get on your nerves. Something like that. Give it a go. See how they react to that, by the way. If they just go like this, or whatever, then that's not going to work. If they go, yeah, that sounds good. I don't talk a lot about teenagers on here because there's so much explanation that goes into them. If you ask me a specific question about teenagers, I sometimes can answer it, but there's so much more that goes into teenagers because I need to know your history, where you're at right now, what your relationship's like, what their social skills are like, what are they doing? There's a lot. Okay. 2-year-old yells. She yells at siblings, touch her thing. She yells in the something of church. What can I do? Obviously, I'm not religious because I don't even know what you mean by that. In the something of church, middle of church. What can I do in this situation? She's 2. You can't expect a 2-year-old to be quiet in church or anywhere else. Yeah, I don't quite know what to say to that. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. The last one's probably for you. Number one, this is for toddlers. My top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number one, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with your toddler, you enter their world. You don't take them to the nail salon or the cafe with you. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Watch them play and join in. Enter their world. When you want to discipline a toddler, it's the same thing. You enter their world. They're not about words, they're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions with toddlers when you want to discipline them. And number 5 is for you. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They are crazy. They're just toddlers. They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. The only thing that might help, especially in church, is maybe run them around the park for a while first. A lot of people get their kids all dressed up for something, then they take them there. I wouldn't do that. I would maybe get them dressed up for something but I'd keep off the outer layer, like maybe just have them in little shorts and a t-shirt and take them to the park and run them around the park for a while first. Then get them dressed, give them a snack to eat in church or whatever. You got to give them something to do. You got to meet their needs before you can manage their wants. Their wants are screaming and acting out in church. Have you met their needs? Have you worked off some of their energy? Have you given them something to do in church? Yeah, it's a big ask for a 2-year-old. Don't they have like church daycare? I remember I was kicked out. I used to go to church with my granny, and I got kicked out of the church daycare because I asked too many questions. They didn't want questions. Maybe they do these days, but nothing was adding up to me about religion. I asked a lot of questions. I was like 3, and I got kicked out of the daycare. She's asking too many questions. I can remember my granny was humiliated. I was very polite, but I just had a lot of they didn't like questions, so it was funny. Okay, I like this one. Guiding Light on YouTube. I'm trying to connect with my 16-year-old daughter. Also, how can I manage her use of phone? She's on it for hours and hours, ignores me. Okay, well, I'm not going to answer the phone thing, but I will tell you how you connect with a teenager. Which story do I want to tell you? Okay, I'll tell you how I did it with my son, and then I'll explain the process I used. My son turned 15. We were best buddies. We were like girlfriends till he turned 15. His voice lowered. He was 6 feet tall, and he wasn't chatting to me about everything. We weren't giggling together anymore. He was turning into a man. They start to change, and they don't want to be your best buddy and hang out with you anymore. So it was really heartbreaking, actually. So then how am I going to connect with this kid? You know, he's into heavy metal music. He dressed goth, and he liked video games. Talk about nothing in common. Yeah. Anyway, so how am I going to connect with him again? Because we were like best buddies. You know what I did? He was downstairs in the rec room playing video games. And so what I did, and by the way, I never allow video games in bedrooms. It has to be in an common area, because otherwise you'll never see a teenager again. Anyway, so it was out in the rec room. And so what I did was I got a magazine. Don't use a phone. Get a magazine, something where you can just flip through it casually, and you just sit beside her. Whatever she's doing, sit beside her. Oh, this is my son. So let's use this example, then I'll switch it up for a 16-year-old girl. So what I did was I had a magazine, I sat down beside him while he was doing his video games. And every so often I'd look up. I didn't say a word. I call it being furniture. I sat down. I'm available. I made it very obvious I'm available. I'm just sitting down. The next thing you know, he's talking to me about the game. Next thing you know, he's handing me a controller. And as time went on, he's making playlists for me of heavy metal music he thinks I might like. I ended up liking a whole bunch of it because I opened my mind. You know, I wanted to enter his world. A lot of parents make this big mistake. They expect their teenager to enter their adult world. Huge mistake, very patronizing and disrespectful. Enter their world, but you wait till you're invited. See, I didn't sit down. Can I play? I sat down and I waited till I was invited. And then we bonded over that. Also, once you get that where you're in their world, a lot of parents mess it up by saying, can we talk? I missed you. Can we? They're just going to shut you out again. Just play. Just have fun. Then say, okay, that was great. I'm going to go make dinner now. Don't use it as an opportunity. Now that you're in, a lot of parents make that mistake. It's the doors open and they go wild. And you know, I really feel disrespected when you do this with me. You know, they use it as an opportunity to lecture them. Yeah, if you want to lecture your teenager, good luck with that. Yeah, so try and enter their world. A teenage girl, I don't know what she's doing, find her interests. You don't just hang out with their friends, not that kind of thing. But you get the idea, find something that they're interested in and just be available. And maybe ask the odd question about it. Oh, I like that makeup. How do you do that? Could you show me how to do your eyeliner, my eyeliner like that? Or that's what I would do. So yeah. Teenagers are my favorite age. I started my business doing teen crisis work. And I loved it. I don't lead with that anymore. I realized after a few years of doing that, I did all crisis work with all ages, but I specialized in teenagers. And then I realized someone introduced me on the news. I used to be like the parenting expert on the news, and someone introduced me as the crisis queen on the 6 o'clock news. It went all over the province, and the crisis queen. And they were nothing wrong with that from their perspective, but I don't want to be a queen for one thing, and I don't want to be known for crisis. So I thought, you know what? I'd rather switch things around and be the prevention, not queen, but I'd rather do the prevention work. But I still do the crisis stuff on the other side. If you want to hire me with your teenager, they're my favorite age. That's my specialty. Go right ahead. You can check out coaching. You can't do that on my website anymore. You can look at coaching on there, but you can't sign up anymore. I'm really busy. So you'd have to send me an email, tell me why you want to work with me, and then I'll see if I can work it and fit you in. So anyway, but yeah, teenagers are great once you understand them. Parents, a lot of parents don't adjust their parenting for teenagers. That's why my boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old. Teenagers, you parent differently. You just do. You're preparing them for adulthood. You're at the height of your leadership from 3 to 12 years old. They want to please you. You're at the height of your power as a leader, as a parent, like a leader parent in those years. By the teen years, you got to start letting them be their own leader. You're just there for the big stuff. 3-year-old being aggressive to me and 1-year-old brother when something doesn't go her way. Also, she tells me not to blah, blah, blah. Talk to her when I try to give her a consequence. Farrell. Sorry. Kids are funny. Check out the behavior board. Just check it out. Look at the behavior board. It's completely free. It's up in the link above. Or you can check out my boot camp course. I just say, don't talk to me. It's a snotty little face. I can just say, don't speak to me. I'm busy. Oh, kids are a riot. Yeah, check out the behavior board. It'll teach you how to do that. It's very little words. It's more about just the behavior board's up there and there's a consequence, and just make it happen. Parents tend to over-explain. When you keep going, well, you shouldn't have done that, and you made me feel bad, and you hurt your little brother. This is what they hear. They're not listening at all. Take action. Have a consequence. I probably wouldn't pay my taxes or pay for my groceries if I didn't have to. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a consequence if you don't. As adults, we all have consequences. If we don't pay our mortgage, we lose our house. If we don't pay taxes, we go to jail. If we speed, chances are we'll get caught one day. You know what I mean? We all run by consequences. I think we forget that. Children need very, very clear understanding of consequences. They need to understand everything's their choice. I always told that to my kids. If you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. So I taught them that the way their life goes is up to them. It's your choice. Sure, you can do your chores. If you don't, there'll be a consequence. That's your choice. Like, I had nothing to do with it. It's up to them. So good. My daughter, 22-month-old, wakes up in the middle of the night screaming. This can last up to 2 hours at a time. I've tried comforting her. Sometimes she just screams and hits for a while, and I've tried letting her cry it out. But her cries and screams just get louder. Not any tips. Well, I don't know why she's doing that. Did she just start doing that? Why is she waking up? Are her naps too long during the day? Does she have naps? Both my kids stopped regular napping at 12 months old. They had a lot of accidental naps, but they stopped regular going to bed for naps at 12 months old. They just didn't need a lot of sleep. So maybe she's sleeping too much during the day. And so I don't know why she's getting up. You might want to try my bedtime battles. It's a mini course. It's the toddler course. It's in the link above. Or you might want to hire me if you really want to talk to someone. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I'm always trying to guide people to that boot camp course because I'm really busy these days. So as much as I love coaching, I'm busy. So I'm always trying to guide them there. And then someone said to me, they said, it was their sister, someone hired me, and they said, we just want you to mother us. That was so funny. And they are most of you are my kids' age, right? And so I thought that was really funny. They wanted that personal touch because that's what I do. I mother all my clients. Anyway, I'm going to look on Facebook, YouTube now. Okay, here we go. Oh, very, very cute, Pamela. Been practicing my leadership skills for the past 6 weeks because that's all I teach is leadership, right? It works. Getting ready for the fork at 3. Hopefully all the work pays off. There's a fork in the road when they turn 3. That's when they can stop and think before they do anything. And I always imitate 3-year-olds and say, if you're not a leader, this is what they do. You're not in charge. I think I will be. So they often find their power and they just get like little scamps at 3 years old. Or if you're a leader while they're still 2, at 3, they go, wow, I got a leader here. I think I'll just calm down. It's just they go one way or the other. That's when kids usually get really easy or really difficult. Or they just kind of go along, But generally, there's a fork in the road. That's what Pamela's referring to. Very nervous to go to the park and pool this summer. We're mostly indoors during winter. Montreal, wow. Yeah, I've never been there. I've got to go sometime. Okay, my fresh 4-year-old girl has started overreacting to almost everything in a dramatic fashion, screaming and truly emotional. Okay, this is from, I don't know your name on there. Anyway, it's got to work. What I mean is at 4 years old, they only do what works. There's got to be a payoff. It must upset you. It must make her feel powerful because you get upset. That's it. They only do what works. Okay, so it must work. There's got to be a payoff for that. Figure it out. What's the payoff? Check out my boot camp course. That might help you out, or you can hire me for coaching if you want. It's all in the link above. But the boot camp course is probably all you need. Or you can just check out the behavior board. That's completely free. It goes behavior board free, boot camp course, 5 weeks for your leadership skills. That's all about you. Or coaching is the top level of what I've got to offer. I was laughing at one of my clients today. And they said, what are you laughing at? And I said, you actually think you're the only one who goes through this, don't you? And they said, yes. Everyone seems to think they're the only ones struggling. It's ridiculous. Parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. It's ridiculous. Parenting used to come naturally, sort of, like 100 years ago. Everyone says parenting should just come naturally. It's a bunch of crap. You know why? It used to come naturally because there was a village raising children. There were grandmothers, great-grandmothers, aunts, cousins. Everyone had there was a village raising kids. The neighbors, they were all out in the street chatting about mothering and complaining about their kids. It was just a village. Now we're very isolated, and people don't tend to share their struggles as much. Everyone's trying to be perfect. I blame social media for that. Everyone tries to look perfect, or you're looking at the wrong things. If you think you're the only one going through stuff, look up parenting fails or mom fails, like funny mom fails. You will laugh your guts out and feel like $1 million about yourself. So that's why I was laughing at that client. The way they were talking, it was like, I said, do you really think you're the only one that goes through this? Yeah. Come on. It's cute. Okay. My 8-year-old and 6-year-old are bickering a lot, especially 8-year-old. Younger comes and complains. The atmosphere in the house is not great. But when they are out and about, they are nice to each other. How can I improve the situation? Sometimes I want to be out and about with them and not spend time indoors. So they're great when they're out. Well, that's because they've got other stuff to do. They're probably more bored at home. But also when you're at home, because they're distracted when they're out, right? When they're at home, so I've got sirens coming along here. You probably can't hear it, but it's bothering me. Just because I think it's going to bother this. Just a sec here. Because the person who works for me takes snippets of this live, and I don't want the siren in that. Sorry. Anyway. Well, they're girls too. Girls are a little bit different when they fight. Anyway, so your daughters are 8 and 6 years old and they're bickering a lot. What you do is you don't spend one-on-one time with each child. I say that there's lots of different ways of dealing with this, but this is the one that seems to be the most general and people say it helps. Anyway, you never spend one-on-one time with children who are bickering. You do stuff with them. So together, and you always play to the weakest link. You play to the 6-year-old's abilities, and you do silly stuff, nothing competitive. You don't play Monopoly. You go around the board once, and we all know who's going to win the rest of the game. It's just no fun, right, for everybody else. One person's, Park Place, Boardwalk, and the rest of us are like, oh, I've got Connecticut, or, is Connecticut, Baltic or something. Anyway, so don't play anything competitive. Just do silly, fun games. Look up fun activities for 6 and 8-year-olds, and just do silly stuff at home. Okay, and it helps them bond at home. It'll give them a better relationship at home. Also, children tend to bond over laughing at you. You join in with them and do the silly stuff, and they're always going to be better at it than you. Like we used to do stuff like hopping around the house. How many laps can you do on hopping on one foot? Well, an older woman compared to little kids, who's going to win? So it was always laughing at mom, right? So yeah, never do one-on-one time. It builds resentment. Even though it's fair and reasonable, I spent 30 minutes with her and 30 minutes with you. What is that doing for their relationship? Nothing, 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 but building resentment. How do I get my son to not get so angry, even if with using calming strategies? What are calming strategies? What are you talking about there? What are calming strategies? I've never talked like that ever. So I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're on the wrong channel. I don't talk like that. So, and yeah. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's not my parenting. That's not my voice. When you're a leader, it organically calms them down. There's no strategies to it. You set yourself up as a leader, and they tend to emotionally regulate themselves because they feel safe, they feel taken care of, they like themselves, they like you. It's just win, 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 win. I don't know, calming strategy. I don't know. You wouldn't have heard that from me. Okay, can't find your behavior board. It's all in the link above. Click it and wait a half hour. It might take 20 minutes to arrive. I keep getting all these emails and messages. I signed up for the behavior board. I haven't got it yet. It's like a third-party delivery system, because I'll do that. I'll sign up for something and it doesn't arrive like that. And I'm like, where is it? But yeah, these things can take 2 minutes or maybe 20 minutes to arrive. So it's free. It's up above in the link. So I got to flip ahead because some people come and go. I don't want to answer questions when those question askers have already left. How do I get my 18-month-old to stop kicking? You're barking up the wrong tree with these toddlers. You're trying to stop them from doing something instead of just calming down and following through with what you got to do. You want them to stop kicking. I don't know how you would do that. I'm going to read out. No, that's not it. Okay, I'll tell you how it went in our house. And I was the leader. My ex-husband, he was the pleaser parent style. He was trying to negotiate. If I let you have a toy, will you stop? I wouldn't do any of that. What I did, when I put them on the tape, when I said something was going to happen, they learned, not right away, but they learned it was going to happen no matter what. I said, okay, I'm going to change your nappy now. I raised my kids in Australia. It's nappy, not diaper. So I said, okay, I'm going to change your nappy now. And I'd put them on the change table. I'd put my arm across their chest. If they started to kick, I'd hold their legs, and I got that nappy on like that. And then they eventually stopped squirming because they learned when mom says something, it's going to happen. Okay. Now, on the other hand, I'd sometimes, when my husband was going to change the kids who were going through that squirmy stage, about 18 months, I would get a cup of tea and stand in the doorway like this. Just watch the show. He's a great dad, but it's just different styles, right? And the kids knew that they could work him. They learned that at a very young age. They would start kicking, so he'd let them down. Okay, if I let you play for a minute, then will you be, all that negotiating. But yeah, so they eventually learned, but not right away. You don't stop them from kicking. You just learn that you're going to push through whatever you're going to do, even if they are kicking. See what I'm saying? Toddlers are under the age of 3. They don't learn through words. They don't learn through negotiating or reasoning. They have that's not in their vocabulary. They're all about consistent corrective actions. When mom said something's happening, they knew it was going to happen. No matter what they did, it was going to happen. Okay, we're getting dressed now. They would have been dressed. I might have had an arm in a leg hole and underpants on their head, but they were dressed. See what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I followed through with actions. Once I said something, there was no negotiating. And it wasn't like I was like, you're going to get dressed now. It was just, okay, we're going now. You got to get your clothes on. If they ran, I would have caught them and got them dressed. But they're very quick to give in once you get that at it. Once you get that energy that, it's going to happen anyway, so you can do whatever you want. Never look afraid of them. A lot of parents look afraid of their toddlers. Toddlers pick up on that. They just do. How do I get the behavior board? I've subscribed to your emails but never received it. It usually takes a few minutes to arrive. If not, do subscribe again and make sure you get your correct email in there. Every single person that never got it within an hour put their wrong email in there. Every single person. So you check. You can just try again. Make sure you proofread your email. But yeah, no one else is having problems. I get tons of people subscribing every day, and they're all getting it. So I know the system's working. Okay. You're asking kind of a question I can't really help you with right now. You're asking about your ex dropping the kids off and they cry and what he's doing. What do you want? Like, what do you want me to say here? Want me to tell you how to tell your ex to parent? I don't do that. When he drops them off on weekends, they cry, scream. Yeah, I can't really answer that one. It's kind of awkward because I can't tell you how to tell your ex-husband how to parent. Yeah, it's awkward. I do that kind of stuff in coaching if he'd be willing to get in on it. Then we work together. My parenting style is very similar to yours, and people criticize me a lot for that. Well, I don't know how I've only been praised for it, so I don't know why you'd be criticized for it. People used to ask my advice all the time because I had such a great relationship with my kids. We laughed all the time. People only saw us laughing, and they were really polite. So I don't know why they would be criticized. I got praised all the time, so I don't know why. If you're the same as me, I don't know why you'd be criticized and I was praised. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can't help the girls with that. Yeah, you just can't because it's an awkward situation. Yeah, it's something that I deal with in coaching, but there's more to it than just that. You got to work out systems for. I was separated. I know what it's like going through all that. You got to work out systems. The thing is, no one's going to criticize your parenting style if your kids are happy and polite. No one's going to criticize you. You know what I'm saying? Like people used to say to me all the time, "Oh, you're so lucky. What do you do? How come you have such a great relationship with your kids?" So yeah, if they're happy kids, and you don't just want obedient soldiers. That's ridiculous. You want happy kids who have a voice, and you're just got a great relationship. I can't even count the number of people who used to ask me, "What do you do? How do you do that?" But I wasn't teaching. I don't teach it to people like that. Like what I mean is, I don't just give friends advice or anything. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Say, well, check out my behavior board. Yeah, yeah. That's when they were little. I wasn't doing this back then. Could you recommend any books about good parenting? I've never read a book on kids or parenting, so I wouldn't have a clue. I'm kid taught. All my advice comes from kids, like my experience with kids. So why would I read a book on parenting or kids? Never cracked a spine on a book with parent. Why on earth would I listen to someone else tell me what I already know? Do you know what I mean? Like, kids taught me all this. So I've been working with kids for 52 years now. So yeah. And I just know if I picked up a book on parenting, I'd go, oh God, no. Oh God, no. Because I have a very, very definitive style that I've been honing now for over 50 years. So why would I watch? Why would I read what someone else has to say? Because I never comment on anyone else's stuff because I don't know it. I have no idea what anyone else is teaching out there. The only way I know anything is what my clients tell me. And even then I say, well, let's just move forward. Like there's no point harping on what was done wrong, right? I mean, here's the thing though. If you're going to buy a book or follow someone's parenting advice, they have to have these two criteria, okay? They have to have finished the job with their own kids. If they haven't lived with teenagers right through to adulthood, what do they know? Like, how can you possibly teach parenting if you haven't even done that? I know that there's probably people out there with just little children teaching parenting. It's like teaching financial advice with $10 in the bank. It makes absolutely no sense. If they haven't lived with teenagers, how do they know how to invest in the teen years? How do they know what's coming? They don't, okay? Make sure they've finished the job with their own kids. The second one is, Like my kids are pretty easy. I got respect when they were little, so I sailed right through the teen years. They have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids. I've worked with kids like you wouldn't believe, troubled teenagers, all sorts of challenges. I never worked with easy kids. I was only handed, kids with behavior issues. So that's where I honed all this. So there's two criteria. They have to finish the job with their own kids, and they have to have worked with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges. Otherwise, don't look at them. What do they know? They can't. It's experience based. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. They identify parenting as personal. What they do is institutional or business. They have clients and students. I teach parenting. It's personal. It's completely different. I can't do what they do. I couldn't teach your child psychology. I couldn't do any of that, but I know parenting. I know how to connect and mother and parent children. That's my thing. So yeah, it's a specialty. I'm sure there's lots of other old women out there or old men out there like me who've done the same thing. So check that out. It's heavily experience-based. Otherwise, child psychologists wouldn't be hiring me, right? Two-year-old acting out all the time. Okay, I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Child-proof your home, because you're managing a toddler. You're not correcting their behavior, okay? You're managing a toddler. There's a big difference. The discipline that at 3 years old, that's when you can start the behavior board. Before then, here's my top 5 tips. Under the age of 3, my top 5 parenting tips for toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Oh, shoot, I'm late. I can't even finish this. I'm late. I got to go to Instagram. I keep running late. Anyway, check me out on Instagram. You can follow me over there. I'm on YouTube the whole time. So I'm late again. Sorry, I got to go to Instagram. Sorry, bye now. Why do I keep doing this? Why don't I put the timer on? Alexa, start 30-minute timer. That'll be for
30 minutes.
TikTok.
Now.
I'm talking to YouTube here, sorry. Okay, get out of Facebook, go into Instagram. Live. Okay. I'm late again. You know what I did? I think it was not yesterday, but the day before. I was on Instagram. I go Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You know what I did? I went Facebook, Instagram, because they look the same. So anyway, I did Instagram twice instead of. Finally, someone told people were telling me, you're still on Instagram, Lisa. Anyway, hello. I just came over from Facebook. I was running late. Sorry about that. I get yabbering on. And anyway, sorry about that. Okay. Oh, this is really cute. Christina said, thanks for such a mindful answer. Mindful. I don't know what that means. Mindful. Sounds really, makes me sound very clever. Mindful. So like I thought it through. Is that what you mean by that? That's cute. Mindful. That's cute. I like that. Sounds very, I don't know, just like I thought it through. Thoughtful. Oh, okay. Yeah. I wish I didn't just say what I'm thinking sometimes, but I just let it fly. There's not a lot of thought that goes into anything I say anymore because I've been doing this for so long. It just flies out. And sometimes I'll say something and I'll think, gee, I wish I'd been more tactful, more mindful, more thoughtful. Here we go. So anyway. You asked about siblings being kind to one another, 2-year age gap. Are they 16? 2? I need an age. When asked my son, why did you do that? He says, because I do that, why, LOL. Why do you ask him why you did that? You're berating him. Don't do that. Say, you did that. That was naughty. Here's a consequence. Don't analyze what they did wrong. If you're going to hire me, I don't even do that. I already understand. They're just going to do dumb things sometimes. Don't ask them to justify their bad behavior. That's berating them. It's like saying, let's say you said something stupid or snotty, and someone said to you, why would you say that? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? You're berating them. How would you feel? You don't ask them to justify their bad behavior. It's rubbing it in. It's kind of, I wouldn't do it. Say, okay, that was bad. Here's your consequence. Check out the behavior board. It teaches you how to do that. But yeah, you just take action. You just say, here's your consequence. You broke the rule. Here's your consequence. It's happening. Don't ask them to explain their bad behavior. It's actually kind of, I wouldn't say mean. It's not a leader. A leader wouldn't do that. It'd be like it would be like if you were a boss and your employee made a mistake. Why did you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you make that mistake? You see, you're belittling them. Yeah, just say, oh, you messed up. Okay, maybe I didn't teach you well enough. Okay, let's go through it again. Do you get it now? Okay, if you need my help, let me know. That's what I do. That's how I would talk. I wouldn't ask them to explain why they couldn't do it right. See where I'm going with that? You got to give respect to get it. That's why you got disrespect. You were very disrespectful for asking him to explain his bad behavior. That was disrespectful. So he just threw it right back in your face. When you respect them, they tend to respect you. Okay. Is it a bad sign if a 3-year-old is clearly crying and tells me he's fine? Well, I don't know why he's crying, so I can't answer that. Why is he crying? Did something happen? Or yeah, I don't know. How do you handle consequences on vacation where you don't do chores? Have you got a brush and you've got hair on your head? I'd get them to brush my hair. I love having my hair brushed, and my kids both hated doing it. So I would have said, oh, go get the brush. You left your sandy swim trunks on the floor of the hotel room. Go get a brush. Oh, shoot. Okay, here you go. Yeah, stuff like that. Get creative. Have fun with it. Oh, peak class, and you corrected it and said pre-K. I thought, what the heck is it? Am I just behind the times? What is a peak class? It sounds kind of rude. Okay, so this is from Carrie. A lot of changing teachers in my daughter's pre-K class, and she's having a hard time with a lot of frequent changes. What can I do to support her during this time? Nothing much. Transition is difficult for children. They very much are into structure, habit, routine. Okay, it's just difficult. You won't find too many kids who do very well through that, but that's okay. It builds resilience. Builds strength. It's a muscle that they're building. So look at it that way. There's not much you can do about that. Sorry about that. But the more structure and routine you have at home, then it makes them feel safe. It kind of helps. It kind of counterbalances a little bit. So yeah, not much you can do. You can't change that at school anyway, right? So yeah, she's pre-K. There's nothing you can do. Well, probably not going to like my answer here. Stephanie Jackson, 2-year-old denies being hurt when she obviously has and won't accept comfort. I would kind of go, phew, like, is she that tough? It's not a bad thing. Like, she's hurt herself and she's fine. I'd go, wow, what a little champion there. So yeah, why do you feel the need to comfort her if she doesn't want it? Yeah, don't turn her into a victim if she isn't one. Yeah. I mean, unless she's got blood spurting from an artery or something, like, I'm assuming it's nothing that bad, or else she would want comfort. So yeah, I think you're trying to over helicopter parent with that kind of thing, maybe a little bit. That helicopter parent phrase, that was so overused. I was a helicopter parent with safety. I was a safety freak because I worked with so many abused kids. So I was a safety freak. And I guess I'm quite proud of saying I was a helicopter parent. Very few helicopter parents are neglectful parents. So it's better to overshoot with being too parenting than being under parenting. But yeah, they got a bad rap for a long time now. You don't hear about that much anymore. Okay. I swear every time I listen to you, you make me rethink my whole parenting. LOL. Thanks for teaching and sharing. If we're not learning, we may as well be dead. I always look at it that way. Like, I need to learn and grow all the time. And just with different things, there's so many things I don't know about. And my thing is I always like to learn something new every single day. And as you get older, it gets harder. I'm in my 60s now. It gets harder and harder. But yeah, it's good if I'm opening your eyes to things. If it's, I like to shake things up because I believe that children should have a voice. Even though I'm very much a leader, I think children should have a voice. And a lot of people say, don't they contradict? Aren't you in charge and they just do what you say? Absolutely not. That's not the way it works. You guide them into making good choices and feeling empowered about their own life. My kids knew if they were punished, that was their choice. They literally would say, sorry, Mom, how about no TV tonight? And I'd say, oh, that's too much. Just brush my hair for 5 minutes. That's kind of how it went in our household. Okay. You want to empower them to feel like they're in charge of their own lives to a great degree, but you're always there. You're a safe place to land. They'll tell you everything right through the teen years. So, yeah, you want to be a safe place, son. You do not want obedient soldiers. You want empowered, confident, nice kids. My son was in grade 2, and his teacher called me on her lunch hour to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She said to my son, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her all serious, and he says, "Mommy makes us be nice." You darn right. That was my job. It was cute. But he said it like he had no choice at all. He had to be nice. That was so cute about it. Would you do the same methods with special needs child? I've enjoyed following you. Depends on what the special needs are. That would be one-on-one coaching with me. I'd have to assess the situation, what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked in the past, their abilities. I think parents often of special needs children tend to undermine their abilities. I'd rather push them a little bit harder, see where they can go with a lot of encouragement and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know where your child's at. So if you want to work with me, you can send me an email about coaching. Tell me why you'd want to work with me. But you can check out the link above. Check it all out for prices and how it goes first. If you want to work with me, you have to email me now. You can't hire me directly anymore. I'm just too busy these days. And I got rid of all the sessions except for this 5-session packages. That's where I get the best results. The more time I have with you, the best results we're going to get. So I got rid of the 1 and 3 session packages. But anyway. Oh, 3-year-old, like at 6:30 will get rambunctious and doesn't listen as well as he's whiny. Yeah, okay, that can be the witching hour. Usually the witching hour is around, I found, anytime between about 4 and 6. But then when it gets past that, yeah, they're just overtired. Try and have just read books and do stuff that isn't wild, right? So maybe do some Play-Doh or something, sitting at the kitchen table. So just stuff that's a little bit, yeah, a little bit less wild. But yeah. I can't really answer this one. I'll tell you why. But I'm going to read it out. 1-year-old is very picky eating. He doesn't eat at daycare and is grumpy on days he doesn't eat. Yeah, it's tricky. Now, I can't answer it because I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor. That's why I can't answer it. But I can tell you what I did with my own kids. So I'm not giving you advice here. I'm just telling you a story. This is what I did with my own kids. I'm a health food nut. So, well, I'm nuts in a lot of ways, but I'm especially nutty with fitness and health. So anyway, I never had junk food in the house, and I made everything from scratch. So, and I made cakes and cookies and everything, but they were filled with all sorts of healthy stuff. And my son was, I don't know how old he was, about 3, and he'd been out for pizza somewhere. And he said the pizza sauce was weird. It was red. Well, mine was always brown because I pureed spinach into it. But I very much catered to their taste buds. I knew what they liked, so I'd sort of go around that, but then I'd throw in all my healthy stuff around it. So yeah, they might have had pizza, but it was my homemade dough, my homemade sauce. But you get what I'm going with that? So, but I did very much cater to their picky eating, very much so. But I was very sneaky. I throw a whole bunch of, and plus my kids would eat my son was the fussier eater, but I did cater to his taste buds. But I never had junk food in the house. So they knew if they didn't eat what was in front of them, there was no ice cream in our freezer. So, all they had was mom's sawdust cookies that had very little butter and sugar in it. So you get where I'm going with this? Yeah, they I catered to their taste buds, but I also made sure everything that went into their system was healthy. I did something really stupid. My son wasn't really a foodie. My daughter would never have given up a meal, but my son, he didn't care if he ate or not. So he was challenging that way. You know what I did? I thought, well, fine. He doesn't want to eat anything, but what was it? It was pasta, I think it was. We used to call it just noodles. It's just, all he wanted was noodles. So anyway, I thought, well, what am I going to do? Oh, I know. I'm not going to give him any noodles today. He's just going to have this and that. And I made the bread and I did all this, but I was giving him milk. Well, he was drinking like tons of milk. Milk is like liquid food. He was filling up on milk. Then I realized he was little too. And so anyway, then I realized, then I started watering down the milk and then he started eating more of the food. But yeah, he didn't like eating. Do you chase a 3-year-old who's running away from you after being asked to get in the bath or bed? I don't chase them, but I would corner them. Like if you have a house that goes around like that, I would pull out a big chair and then just, you know what I mean? I would corner them, but I probably wouldn't run unless it was a real short, like a hop and a grab. And then check out my bedtime battles course. It explains what you do with if the bedtime routine doesn't go well and they're 3 years old and over, it goes on the behavior board. So the next morning there's a consequence. So they'll learn. There won't be any games of chase if the next day they get a consequence. They'll learn. parents often say to me in coaching, they say, well, they said they didn't understand. Well, they don't say that to me anymore because I usually say, they're going to say they don't understand. As soon as you go to give them the consequence, but I forgot, I understood. And I say, just say to them, well, you'll know next time, won't you? Like, don't give in to that. They'll learn as you go. Don't over-explain everything. You've already laid out the behavior board. This is it. And you do it in a way they can understand. Then as soon as you show them how, because you're on there too, that's what makes it work. So as soon as they understand the behavior board, you go, okay, do you understand? Okay, it starts tomorrow. And then make it work. But anyway, check out my Bedtime Battles course. That might be a good one for you. It explains it. Or just get the behavior board and put down follow bedtime routine if they don't. 12-month-old shoves her hands down her throat and throws up. Nothing you can do about that. It's just a stage. They're going to get really bored with doing that. You can talk to a doctor if you're really worried about it. But yeah, they just do weird stuff. Yeah, they're just forming. Sorry, I got loud neighbor dogs. They bark when they smell one of the other dogs they don't like because they think they own the hallway. They're very emotionally high maintenance dogs. They're cute as a button, but they're very emotionally high maintenance. If they don't like a dog, they don't want it in their hallway. So I tried the ignoring the screaming and it worked like a charm. You have helped so much. Excellent. Yeah, you ignore the crazy, reward the calm. Oh, okay. So I just got a message from someone. Never mind. Okay. Oh, what time is it? Oh, panicking. I keep running late for these lives because I get yabbering on. I've learned more. This has nothing to do with parenting, but I get clients from all over the world. I've learned more about geography from doing these lives, like because I used to ask people where they were from. And they'd write down, I've learned there's so many countries I'd never even heard of before. It's been really fascinating. And I think I know all the American states now. I think I've had a client from all the American states now. Except Delaware. Is that a state? I think I figured out the other day I've never worked with someone from Delaware, I think it was. Anyway. Ways to act like a leader for 2-year-old. You're just practicing now. This is what you do. This is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers under the age of 3. Whenever I'm hired by someone who has toddler and also older kids, they usually hire me for the older kids. And then I'll say to them, do you want to talk about the toddler just so I can tell you this? And they always say, yeah, they're just nuts. Like they understand toddlers are nuts. You know, parents, if it's your first time with a toddler, you're trying to figure them out. Well, I'm going to read this top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You watch how they play and you join in. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They just start to look at you differently. It's the start of your leadership skills. They just look at you differently. You're relatable, okay? Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, it's not words. It's not these mini therapy sessions that are just a bunch of garbage. They're like, you know, you shouldn't have done that. You know what hurts my feeling? That's garbage. They're about actions. They're not about words. Use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. Might take 50 times. They'll eventually learn. They might even go back and start doing it again. They might, okay, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and for one of those years you were a potato laying on a mattress. Can't figure that out, right? You can't. They're just forming. It's not so much that they're crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. So you're just managing them. That's why I said childproof your home, set up a toy rotation system, play with them in their world, discipline them in their world, consistent corrective actions. That's part of your leadership skills, but they're not going to clue in right away. It's going to take probably till they're about 3 before they go, oh, I get it. You're the leader. And then they get easy. That's generally how it works. It does get easier. And the way I know that even toddlers can learn is because my husband at the time, he was more the pleaser style and I was more the leader. And they were very different with each of us because I was the leader. They knew mom didn't take any crap. Dad was more likely to bargain with them. And I had a lot of experience with kids. He was a great dad, but he just didn't have a lot of experience with kids. So by the time I think our son was 3 and he had a scene out with dad, and his dad came home and he was not impressed with our son. He said, what should I have done? And I said, next time that happens, just say, anytime he does anything, say, do you want me to tell mom? That's all it took. Do you want me to tell mom? No, never mind, because I was the leader. So you don't both have to be the leader. There's usually only one, but you have to defer to the leader. Use the leader as leverage. So even at 2, he would say stuff like that. Like, oh, mom's going to find out. Oh, never mind. So, and funny thing is, I never even did anything. I was just that strong presence, that energy. They pick up on that because I was very confident with kids because I'd worked with them for so many years. It's more of an energy thing. That's why I don't teach that a lot, because it is energy and confidence, but you're just learning, okay? But yeah, they're just not, they're still going to do crazy stuff, right? They're just toddlers. I tried the gentle, oh, I don't discuss that. That's someone else's, you know what I mean? I don't critique other parenting stuff. I talk about the old-fashioned authority style parenting and the newfangled pleaser parent style. And whatever's under those umbrellas, I don't know. But yeah, the pleaser parent is, okay, the old-fashioned authority style parent wasn't a bad way to parent. They're going to rebel in the teen years, but they'll come out the other end respecting and appreciating what their parents did for them. The pleaser style parent, you're going to be a dish rag. Your kids are going to wipe their feet all over you because you're trying to please them all the time. You believe in participation awards. How stupid is that? You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They're never going to appreciate you or respect you. It's a disaster. I teach leadership. You give respect to get it, and they never rebel. My son was 15 and he says, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. He wasn't even happy about it, but he said, and I said, oh, that's a shame. Oh, that's a real shame. Okay. I'm going to read it out because other people might benefit from this, but my answer is kind of weird. I take my 3-year-old to work with me. It's a home daycare. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. Can this be a bad thing for her? I don't want to just leave her just yet. Don't overanalyze that. Don't worry about it. I think she'll be fine either way. Some kids it might be great for, other kids it might not be. It's one of those things. Who knows? It's one of those. Is homeschooling better than sending them out to school? Who knows? Is religion better than non-religion? Who knows? There are certain things that are just, we don't know for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, I don't think it's a mistake either way. So that's why I don't have opinions on those sorts of things. It's like religion. I always say I don't have opinions on politics or religion or homeschooling or breastfeeding till they're older, because they're all subjective. There's no definitive black and white answer to any of those things. Usually I'm very black and white. I know what I do, but those are subjective. It's a lot of opinion in there. I really try not to give in to the whining. It should dissipate once it stops working. In other words, if you just ignore the whining, if they're older, I would say, if you talk like this, I won't even answer you. But if you say, may I please have, I'll answer you, but the answer may still be no. You might have to say that several times if they're little, but they should eventually get it. So when they whine, I would just ignore it. It's in the crazy department, like tantrums. You ignore the crazy and then reward the calm. So if they're whining, getting on your nerves, as soon as they talk nicely, you got to be quick. You got to go, yes. See what I mean? You got to reward when they're good. You got to be quick with that. You got to be consistent, or else they don't get it. If you're ignoring their whining and then they start talking nicely and you still ignore them, they haven't learned anything. How do you handle aggressive tantrums? You physically restrain them when they get aggressive. So I always say you ignore tantrums, but you physically restrain them if they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. But you don't do that with a bigger kid, and you never do that with teenagers. It's better to lose a couple of doors that they might smash in out of anger. You never intervene physically with a teenager unless they're hurting themselves or hurting someone else. Let the property go, right? So, but yeah, you just physically you just hold them. You don't look at them or talk to them. You might just say no. If they hit, you say no and you hold them. Now, I do have a tantrum busting course. It's one of my many toddler ones, and it goes into that. But if they're physically aggressive, that's my toddlers who hit, bite, etc. They're very different. Tantrums are aggression during a tantrum is handled differently than just pure aggression, just because they didn't get their own way. See what I mean? Yeah. When they're having a tantrum, they've lost their nut, so you deal with that differently. How did you make your kids be nice? I was a leader. It's all leadership. You're never fixing kids. I'm teaching parents here. You set yourself up as a calm leader who also knows how to have fun with kids in their world, and they will respect you and they'll be nice, just the way it is. It just works. It just does. I know I've got a lot of new clients right now, actually, who are in week 1, And you should see the difference between week 1 and week 3. Monday, Tuesday, and then half of yesterday. A lot of week 3 parents. The difference is unbelievable. Week 1, I'm just a lousy parent. Even the dads are crying. I'm just awful. Week 3, they're like this. I'm getting it. Anyone can learn this. It's empowering because, and it's not that your kids are behaving. It's that your relationship is getting so much better with your kids that your kids just don't want to act out in front of you. So we're not fixing kids here. We're setting you up as a leader. Your kids like themselves more when they're with a leader. You're increasing their self-esteem, and they don't disrespect a leader. You should see the faces, though. It's hilarious. Just the difference in week 1. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Week 3, I'm getting it. This is good. I'm getting it. The empowerment. It's just the body language and everything. It's just so rewarding. I love what I do. They're not all like that. Some parents are still struggling quite a bit in week 3. They're not necessarily ready for it. Sometimes they've got other issues that they're dealing. They might be in the middle of a divorce. They might be in a difficult situation. So I've got to work through all the mud before we can really get to a lot of stuff. But usually it's pretty consistent. By week 3, you'll see a real shift. Not everything's perfect at that point, but there's a real shift in the parents. They just are starting to get it. It's wonderful. I love that. Oops, what time? I got to go. I got to go over to TikTok now. Thanks for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. So you can hire me for coaching. You can't do it on my website anymore. You have to email me because I'm super busy these days. Let me know why you want to work with me, and then we'll go from there and see if it's for you. Anyway, I got to go to TikTok now. If you want to join me, I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. Oh, not even late. Wow, that's wonderful. I'm usually late. Okay, am I on the right channel? Yes. I keep going on my personal channel by accident. I'm talking to YouTube. My personal one is just old lady fitness stuff. Talk about how I'm the old lady at the gym. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. I'm going to look at you. Okay, so I have a 2-year-old and a newborn. The 2-year-old really starts acting out when breastfeeding. Okay, my most challenging clients are not crisis. It's not crisis work. I do a lot of crisis work, especially with teenagers, the life and death stuff. That's not I know how to deal with that. My most challenging clients in coaching is a mom with a new baby and a toddler, by far. Do you know why that's so difficult for me? How hard can I push you? You got a baby stuck to your boob and you got a toddler running around acting up. Like your hands are kind of tied. All I can do is try and talk you off the cliff and tell you that it is just a really difficult transition time. You're just going to have to survive it. That's all. I can give you my top 5 tips for managing toddlers, but it's not going to be a quick fix, okay? Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You don't go to the nail salon with a toddler. You watch how they play and you join in. They look at you differently. You're more relatable. They're just looking at you differently. Number 4 is similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, it's in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. Consistent corrective actions. Every time you pick a behavior you want to correct, just usually one at a time, just focus on that. And then you have to be consistent corrective actions. For example, if they throw stuff, whatever they just throw, say no, and you put it away, and they can't touch it for the rest of the day, something like that. And then the last one is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. Don't try and figure them out. You're gonna go insane. You just can't figure them out. I've never been able to. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. You want to figure that one out? Good luck with that. Someone said that's really sweet advice. What advice was that? The poop on the wall? Okay. I'm going to read this one out, and I'm going to explain why I'm going to read it. This is on YouTube. 3.5-year-old hurts himself on purpose and laughs. Last night he took the corn, smashed it into his mouth, and busted his lip. Started laughing and did it over and over. When I took it away, he punched himself. You'd have to hire me for that. I'd want to figure that one out. Yeah, if you want me to answer that, you'd have to hire me because I'd have to assess the whole situation. I got a lot of questions to ask before I could even begin to answer that. So yeah, that's interesting. I've heard it before, but sometimes there's different reasons for why they do it. So yeah, if you want me to answer that, it's interesting. But you're not alone. Other parents say stuff like that. Children self-harm and thinks it's funny because they get attention. But sometimes there's something else going on too. What do you do about a 14-month-old who has tantrums waiting for meals? Let them go. As soon as they finish the tantrum, then calmly feed them. Nothing. Although 14 months old. Okay, 14 months, still a baby. They're babies till they're about 16 months. So they're having a tantrum because you haven't got the food ready. So they're in the high chair, right? So as soon as you got the food ready, then you sit down and you're sort of waiting for them and you're presenting it. They might have got themselves so worked up, they're trying to push you away. Just don't let that happen. Just make it obvious that you're ready to feed them, but don't do anything about the tantrum. You can't. Just let them process that. That's their learning process. They're learning how not everything's going to happen right when they want it. It's a transition time for them, and that's okay. Don't interfere in their brain processing that. The fact that sometimes you just have to wait for your food. But I wouldn't have put my kids in the high chair till I was ready to feed them. If that was the case, if they were going to get upset, I wouldn't put them in the high chair, because high chair, they might say, okay, food now. So yeah, that's something maybe you could tweak. You said your daughter's very sensitive. I don't know. She's 16, 6. I need to know the age. Children who have a leader as a parent are very rarely fragile. Having a leader as a parent empowers children. They tend to have a lot high self-esteem, confidence. They aren't fragile generally. Maybe physically, but you know what I mean. Like emotionally, they're pretty calm. So yeah, where are your leadership skills? Get those all sorted out first. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. The ages 3 to 12 is when my boot camp goes. She's 4. Okay. Well, then you might want to check out the boot camp course. You're setting yourself up as a leader, and organically it changes who they are. Alexa, stop timer.
30-minute timer canceled.
I did that all wrong. It would have been late anyway on TikTok. Anyway, I put the timer on because I'm usually late when I'm doing these lives, because I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. The other day I went Facebook, Instagram. I went back to Instagram by accident. What a dope. Anyway, what was I saying? My kid gets so many compliments on his behavior at school, but at home is melting down after school. I got a lot of answers for that. Let me think, which one should I pick? He might just need to detox from school emotionally, so maybe just have him read a book or something. It's okay that he has a meltdown after school. At home is melting down after school. Now, is he melting down right after school because he's been holding it all in, all this energy in all day, and then he has a meltdown? Maybe instead of going straight home, take him to the park and run around with him. When you're taking a kid to the park to wear off some steam and just let them, just let them run, you don't put them on the swing and push them. That's not exercise. You have them run around. They have to work. Like sitting on a swing being pushed is not exercise. So yeah, you can have them swing 3 times, then run around the swing set 3 times. But yeah, maybe he's just holding it in all day and he's just got to get that energy out. But if he's melting down, are you saying he's good at school but bad at home overall? Then that's a different thing. It means the teacher's a leader and you're not. That's what that says to me. But yeah, I don't know. So a couple different answers there, depending on exactly what your challenge is. 22-month-old throwing items when tantruming and bites her own hand. Yeah, you do that. What's your question? You just physically restrain them. You still ignore tantrums. There's a very specific way of doing that. Check out my tantrum busting course. I don't have the bandwidth right now to talk about tantrums. I guess because I've been talking about them for so many years, I have to take a break sometimes. Anyway, yeah, you just ignore a tantrum, but if they're doing self-harm or something like that, then you physically restrain them while you ignore them. Let them go. If they start up again, then take them and go like that again. You still ignore them though, but you just prevent them from hurting themselves, hurting others, damaging property. 14-year-old is sarcastic and can be mean. How to respond? Okay. They're my favorite age, teenagers. I love them. Anyway, so sarcastic and mean. To who? To you? Everybody? Just their siblings? Their friends? Teachers? Who are they mean to? Me. Oh, okay, to you. Okay, set yourself up as a leader, and that just doesn't happen. I'm going to give you my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. And it's a slow burn, by the way. It doesn't happen overnight. And I don't have a course for teenagers. That would be coaching if you're really struggling. Anyway, these are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. They will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2, you negotiate pretty much everything. You give respect to get it. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? You don't do it with absolutely everything, but you get the idea. You give respect to get it. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff. The reason he's treating you like that is he's wiping his feet on you. You're not a leader. And it's usually the listening. That is one of the best ways to get respect. Anyway, check out my behavior board, and you get him on this, and you say, okay, I want a rule for everyone in the family and a consequence. Call it an accountability chart with teenagers. And you say, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper, or here's the consequence. Then you say, what do you want my rule to be? They'll usually say, get off my back, stop being a BIT. You get what I'm going. Just say, well, that's not possible. I'm just learning here. So let's make it something simpler. So use a bit of humor and just keep it light and airy. Don't handle the big stuff. Never, ever put attitude on there. You know what you're saying is you're an idiot. As soon as you put attitude on, stop being snotty. You're calling him an idiot. You're insulting him. You don't do that. You build the relationship, and then the attitude it improves. It happens organically. You never address a bad attitude with a teenager. Good luck with that. It just doesn't happen. You build your relationship up, build your leadership up, and listening is a huge part of it. You listen to understand and show empathy. Don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Now, parenting teenagers. It's my favorite age. It's also, I always warn if you're going to hire me, you have to email me first anyway. So whenever the first session with parents of teenagers, parents are always, and I say you're going to be very frustrated because you're going to have to give, and don't expect to get anything back from that teenager, especially in the first 2 weeks. I'm setting you up as a giver. And they argue that. They say, that's not fair. And I go, yeah, welcome to teenagers. Yeah, welcome to teenagers. It's not supposed to be fair. It can be down the road, but not right now. But anyway, yeah, teenagers are great as long as you know how to manage your relationship with them. Teenagers, part-time job at 16. Both my kids, I made them go out at 15 when they're legally allowed to go out and get part-time jobs here in Canada. And they had to go out and get part-time jobs. I was praying to God they'd each have to clean a public toilet at least once. It wasn't their job, but they both had to do it. So yeah, I wanted them to learn how to do the hard stuff. They're both really good workers. So yeah. What does giving look like? Listening. Where do we draw the line? You don't draw the line yet. You're not there yet. You can't. That's what parents get so frustrated. They'll hire me because they've got a violent teenager. I don't even go there initially. You've got to work on your relationship first. And then the first week, I tell you what to do. You won't like it, by the way. Anyway, I tell you what to do. And then the second week, I assess what happened. So I know where your relationship is with your teenager. It's a process. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's worth it. You know, I'd love to see your kids. They're adults now. My son's a father now. They're all grown up. I keep them out of social media. I don't discuss them. I discuss them when they were little, and that's it. But yeah, I don't discuss them. They don't choose to be on here, so I don't drag them into it. Plus, when they got kids and that, I don't want to drag them into it. So yeah. I tried that. It worked for 2 days. You tried what? Let me see. What did I answer there? You tried what? Oh, someone else recommended something? I don't know. So I lost track of that one. Yeah, learn to do the hard stuff. You know, I never tried to make everything easy for my kids. That's the pleaser parent style. Participation awards. They should just turn up and get an award. Oh, how do I make chores fun? Why on earth would you want to make chores fun? So in other words, your children are going to grow up thinking everything should be fun. I'm not paying taxes because it's not fun. You see what I mean? It's ridiculous. You want them to learn how to do the hard stuff. I taught my kids from a very young age, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. They'd be like 3 years old. Can we watch TV? Well, as soon as you've done your chores, sure. And they'd run around doing their chores and then they'd watch TV. They understood. You got to earn the good stuff. They never thought anything of it. And their chores were very easy and manageable because they were little. But I was teaching them from day one. You've got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. I wanted to teach them self-discipline. They're both very good at that. They're both very, very self-disciplined because they understand you got to do the hard stuff in life. If you don't prepare them for that, it's just a pleaser parent style. They're the parents that go in and try and tell the teacher, my child's not happy with you. Can you teach my child differently from all the other children? It's all that kind of entitled stuff. You're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. You're not preparing them for the real world. Both my kids got not a great teacher in one of their grades. I won't say it out loud. I do in coaching, I tell people. But because sometimes I know I've got some old teachers that watch me. So anyway, they both got a teacher that just shouldn't have been teaching. Not a very good one. I was actually happy both my kids got this teacher because I told them, you're going to get difficult bosses too. So yeah, I never tried to protect them from stuff like that. I protected them from dangerous stuff, obviously. But yeah, I never protected them from just normal life stuff they're going to have to put up with, right? One thing a few little things I like to sort of make a few points here is nowadays I've noticed that most parents overpraise and underplay. I played a lot with my kids and I did praise them too, but never instead of playing. So you look at a child's face when you're praising them and you're wonderful, I love you, you're so special, and you're so smart. And then I'm going to go do the dishes now. And they're like this. Now, here's the difference. You say to a child, hey, what are you playing with? Can I join in? Look at their face. It's completely different. That's their love language. Praise really doesn't do anything for them. It's just empty words. Play is their love language. But parents tend to overpraise and underplay. They want to play with you. They don't, not in your world. They want you to join their world. Get down on the ground, play with them. You'll just see a different child come out. That was my power when I worked with kids. I had no leverage, but I was very good at playing with them. And then if they did act out, I'd say, okay, we'll just stop playing for a minute now. Oh, they hated that. So play and humor and fun, that was how I set myself up as a leader when I was working with kids. But yeah, most parents overpraise and underplay. Another point I want to make is I love a behavior board. A behavior board, you're on it too. That's mine's different because you're on it. Parents have to be on it. So, because you're accountable, they're not listening to you, they're watching you. You're accountable, they'll be accountable. It's just the way it works. A behavior board, the message you're sending with a behavior board is this. You're normally wonderful, but if you should happen to do something bad, we'll deal with it. That's the message you're sending. Reward charts, I hate them. You know the message you're sending? You're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star. See the difference, the shift? Parents don't pick up on that, kids do. Now, behavior boards work at school. School is not parenting. A huge portion of my clients are teachers. What works at school doesn't always work at home and vice versa. Parenting's personal, it's different. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. I couldn't do what they do. And they struggle with parenting just as much as everybody else because it's personal. It's different. So reward charts work beautifully in school because it's not personal. But not at home. It's personal. Anyway. You know, some parents have behavior boards and reward charts at the same time. Talk about confusing. Yeah, get rid of the reward charts. I used to say to my kids, I remember one of them came home once and they said, you know, I was just at this friend's house. They had a reward chart. They did something nice. Like my kids weren't being rewarded for doing chores. So anyway, one of them came home and said something like that. They said, how come they make their bed and they get like money for it? And I said, and then they said, where's our reward? And they knew I was going to have an answer, right? So they said, where's our reward? I said, your reward is having me as a mother. And they'd always go, oh, mom. That was always my answer. So yeah, we had a fun family. It was just fun. So we didn't need the reward chart. But anyway. How can you start the behavior? How old can you start the behavior board? It starts at the age of 3. That's when they can stop and think before they act. They have the ability to start to learn how to reason. Does it mean they're going to do it? Not necessarily, but they can start to learn. It's a muscle they can start to exercise. They can actually stop and think before they act. They can do it much younger, by the way. But at 3, they can all do it. Unless they have some cognitive disability or something. But yeah, they can learn how to do that. That's why it has to start at 3. And the boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old because even though they're very different in ages, and the course goes through a whole bunch of different stuff with ages, a whole bunch of different examples to meet each age group. The reason why I've grouped those ages together, because it's all about you and your leadership, is you're the same leader. That's when you're at the height of your leadership skills. And the whole course is all about you. It's not about your kids. It's all about you. Leaders lead, children follow leaders. It's just the way it is. If you're not a leader for your child, they're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, bullying, the Kardashians. You get the idea. They're very susceptible. They instinctively go searching for a leader elsewhere. You want it to be you. That's why I never worried about my kids, because I knew they were going to come home and tell me everything. Because, we worked stuff out together. And I never told them what to do. They'd come home and they'd say, oh, this and that and this. And so I'd say, yeah, okay, what do you think you should do? What are you going to do? So I always encouraged them to problem solve. And then I was just there sort of, helping them out. But I never really told them what to do. I wanted them to figure stuff out. The Kardashians, yeah. They're not it's not that they're bad people, but they maybe have a little bit different value system than I would want my kids to have, just with different things. But you know what I like about them? They back each other up. They're family first. Okay. Does your teenage coaching work with a 12-year-old boy who goes between homes every 2 weeks? Yeah, coaching is for all ages, by the way. It's the only option I have for teenagers. So yeah, and when people only have a 12-year-old, they'd usually just do coaching instead of the course. That course goes from 3 to 12, but usually people have younger kids too. If you just have a 12-year-old, it might be coaching. But if you have younger kids, the 12-year-old's included in there too. But yeah, coaching works with any age. Sometimes people are just pregnant and hire me because they want to know what's coming. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm going to defend your mother. My mom tries to help, but whenever she makes her present, she is constantly breaking our rules. If you drop your children off with someone else, you trust them enough, don't micromanage them. Let them do whatever they want. If you trust them enough to look after your kids, don't tell them how to do it. So, but if you're there, it's none of their business what you're doing. Like I'm a grandmother now. I would never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. But if they drop their kids off at my place, grandma's rules. And if I'm at their place, I follow their lead. If they're their children, I'm very much like that. Like they're their children. They're not my children. They are their children. But you drop them off with grandma and it's grandma's rules. That's the way it works. So yeah, children adapt very well to that because they have daycare, they have preschool, they have school. They're very good at adapting to whoever they're with. I've actually had clients, they don't do it anymore, but I've actually had clients who used to take the behavior board to school and ask the teacher to do it. Oh. Oh, and I say, can you please go and apologize and tell them I didn't tell you to do that? Like, you wouldn't do that, would you? It's funny. Yeah, I just didn't get blamed for that. Imagine telling a teacher how to teach. Oh, God. Do you know how many hours I've spent supporting teachers in the back of the room? Did I always like what they did? No. Did I always respect the fact that they're dealing with all those kids? You bet. I would never judge them. I'm just sitting in the back of the class dealing with the difficult kids, and I just think I could never do what they do. I would never want to be a teacher. It's just not my lane. I'm a one-on-one connector, like a parent. It's all personal. And mothering, every kid I worked with, I was mothering them. But yeah, teachers are a whole other level. I couldn't do that at all. And they struggle with parenting just as much as anyone else. Because they expect that what works in the classroom will also work at home. And they're different. One's personal, one's an institution, it's business. They're just different. How do I get a teen girl to talk so I can try to use your tip of listening to understand? Oh boy, that's a slow burn. You gotta enter her world and talk about what she likes as much as possible without overstepping. I don't know what she's into. What would be a good example of that? Can you explain that Snapchat to me? Something like that, like Snapchat. Can you explain that to me? and just have fun with it. Just ask her to explain something to you, but then don't try and be hip and use it with her. So it goes like that. Or else, can you please show me how you do your eyeliner? I really work that. I really like the way you do it. Can you show me how to do it? So, but then you don't use those opportunities to ask her questions. Parents make this mistake all the time. You get into their world that she's putting makeup on, all of a sudden you're doing a therapy session. Why do you never talk to me? Why do you not talk to me anymore? Why don't you tell me anything? Huge mistake. It'll happen organically. It just pops out. The more you do this, I don't know what to call it, but the more you just sort of are there and you're very supportive of them and their world, and the more you do that, the more likely they're going to start talking to you. And when they do, just keep your mouth shut. When they talk to you, just go, yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm going to go make dinner now. And then they'll start telling you more and more and more. It just happens. I remember I was working with this teenager once, and she said, I can't believe I just told you that. I said, that's because I wasn't saying anything. I was just very quiet. And yeah, she told me something that she hadn't told anybody. It was a big secret. And it just came flying out because I was really good at that silent listening. Get really good at it and really supportive. And they'll tell you everything. But it's a slow burn. It takes a while. You got to prove yourself. Doesn't happen over a weekend. A lot of parents say, I tried that and it didn't work. It might take 2 months. How do you stop my son from running away from you when outdoors? Put a harness on him before you go out and bring a leash. As soon as he starts to run, clip and keep him clipped in for the rest of that outing. It's a safety issue. You don't want them to get flattened by a bus, right? You clip him into a car seat, clip him into a leash, and just say, yeah, you run, you get clipped in. Will there be a scene? Yep. Always embrace the scene. Behind every fit scene or a tantrum, that's them transitioning into your leadership. Behind every fit scene or a tantrum is a lesson. Welcome it. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. So I welcome those scenes. I tell this story all the time. It's a quick little story, but the one with the 8-year-old who he didn't know me, and I was asked to work with him, and I was told he's a real handful. Like they aren't all that I've worked with. Anyway, and they said, oh, he's a real handful and he's got a real attitude. Anyway, I'd said no to him to something. He says, I want to do that. And I said, no, we're not doing that. We're working on this right now. And he said to me in this filthy look, he said, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. Just like that. No expression. Just bring it on. I didn't just say, okay. I'm like inviting it. Bring it on. And he never did. He went like, oh. He didn't quite know how to deal with me. It was like, oh, she's not afraid of me. Not in the least. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. Bring it on. Let me show you how much of a leader I am. I was inviting it. So never be afraid of a scene. If you are, the kids are in charge. Guarantee. I guarantee. If you're trying to avoid fit scenes and tantrums, they're in charge. I guarantee it. They know it. I know it. They know it. For sure. Oh, I see. Okay, I couldn't quite read that. This is from Gracielle Palma on YouTube. My 3.5-year-old son started showing aggressive behavior. It seems to have surfaced after the birthday party of his baby brother, 15 months. This aggression has extended to school. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. It just started at the 15. I don't know. I'd have to assess the situation. If it just started then and he's never been aggressive before, I'm suggesting something's happened. No, don't freak out. It might not be anything horrible, but I'm suggesting something might have happened. Something triggered, or he's 3.5. He may just have found his power. Sometimes they get really difficult at 3. There's a fork in the road at 3. They develop the ability to stop and think. And often, if you're not a leader and they're very much in charge when they're toddlers, when they're 3, they'll go, wait a minute, you're not a leader. I think I will be. And they find their power and they get very difficult. On the other hand, if you are a leader, you're very calm and you ignore tantrums and follow through with all this stuff. They go, oh, I got a leader. I'll just calm down and be polite. They get easy or they get difficult, or some of them just stay the same. But there's a fork in the road at 3. So maybe that's what's happened. We're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. And I'll tell you why. I've worked with hundreds of kids, violent teenagers, toddlers, all ages, all challenges. And I've always managed to get respect. Was it them or was it me? Was it my leadership, or I just happened to luck out the day that I worked with all these hundreds of kids? It's leadership. You lead, they will follow. They feel respected, they feel heard, and they feel like you really care because you're a good listener. There's a lot of power in this stuff. It's a lot to it. There's actually a lot to it, but a lot of it's just energy. But the energy comes out once you learn the tools. You can't start with the energy. So that's why I don't really teach that. But I've got a lot of clients right now who just finished session 3, and that's when they start to get it. You can just see their body language is different and everything. They're getting the energy. They're starting to feel empowered and confident and good about themselves. And their relationship with their kids is getting fun. It's getting better because they're not dealing with bad behavior all the time now. So yeah, anyone can learn this. But what's your favorite book for parenting? Well, why would I read one? Kids taught me all this. I've never read a book on kids or parenting, not once, not ever. Why on earth would I take advice from someone else when kids have taught me all this? So yeah, I'm experience-based. So I've never, ever read a book on kids or parenting, ever. Why would I? What's it going to teach me? If I feel I need to learn more about kids, I'm going to go volunteer at a detention center or something for teenagers. That's where I'm headed. See, I go right to the source. I used to work, I've had some really interesting experiences with kids. I used to work with NAS babies, and it's all volunteer, by the way. I just found kids fascinating. NAS babies back in the day was called narcotic addiction syndrome, and they were severe, and they could not be held until they were, I think it was quite old, like 3 or 6 weeks. They basically were changed in the bassinet, everything. Like they were never picked up or held because they were just jittery like this. So anyway, finally they were old enough to be held, and they handed one of these babies to me. And it doesn't sound like much here, but just a second. So they handed this baby to me, and they said, don't look at the baby, don't talk, and don't breathe through your nose, because that would breathe on them and it would make them jitter. So just go like this and don't move. And also I don't remember, but I don't think they had them near my heart. I think they had them on the other side. I'm going somewhere with this. So now your gut reaction is to cuddle a baby, right? So I always say you meet their needs and manage their wants. So that was one of my best lessons in meeting their needs. My gut reaction was to cuddle this baby, but I learned I had to breathe the other way. I had to not move. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. I just had to hold the baby. And the way that I knew I was doing a good job was the baby didn't jitter. And that was it. You're always reading children and figuring out what they need. That I'm obsessed with that. I'm always watching kids and figuring them out. Teenagers, violent teenagers, babies who are NAS. I'm always trying to figure out what their specific needs are. Don't try and make sense out of what you think you should do. Learn from them. That's how I learned all this. I didn't do what made sense to me. I did what made sense to them. Does that make sense? That makes sense? I did sense. Anyway, I got to get going now. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all focused on you and your leadership, or you can hire me for coaching. You can't do that directly on my website anymore. I'm just too busy. I've only got 5 sessions now because I'm so busy. So I get the best results with 5 sessions. So that's why I've chosen that. Anyway, so that's the only one you can do. If you want to work with me, coaching, you have to email me, tell me why you want to work with me, and then we'll go from there and see if it's for you. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. Happy parenting. Bye now.